My favorite thing about Herren Wellness is seeing guests feel better. When they come here, we have this amazing team of wellness associates and life coaches and managers and leaders that we want to embrace recovery, and we give them, it's like a hope shot. And my favorite part is the attention that every single one of our guests get.
You know, I think, especially here, right, we offer so much. You know, when I first thought of possibly doing this, you know, I wanted to offer as much as possible for people that can grab onto something that will support their recovery. Not everybody gets sober and stays sober the same way. So to offer those pathways of holistic health, whether it's acupuncture, yoga, Reiki, breath work, we offer it all because it supports people's recovery. And what I've learned in my own recovery is I need more. You know, I need more. And you know, we offer that here.
Sometimes I feel like I want to fly without no wings.
Hello, everybody. My name is Matt Barkoff, and I am the Sober Cold Bear, and welcome to another episode of the Sober Cold Bear podcast. And I am honored and thrilled to have Chris Herren and Lori McCarthy join today. We'll introduce y'all in a few minutes. As I mentioned to you guys, and as we kind of prepared here, the two of you have been on my list, my bucket list, as they say, to speak to since I launched the podcast. This actually is, I think, episode 23. I started working on the podcast about a year ago, and you've always been on my list. So the fact that I was able to, you know, reach out to you and connect with you, Lori, thank you so much for taking my call and for doing this. And I'm thrilled to be able to meet you today. And to kind of talk about the story of how the two of you are working together in Herren Wellness and the project and everything else. Before we get to intros, just to kind of let everybody know in terms of my current spiel, the Sober Cold Bear podcast is not a place to go if you want to get sober. This is a resource to you. It's great content. We have great guests like Chris and Lori. It's certainly not a place to go if you actually do want to get sober. There's resources out there. There's rehab, right? You can go to rehab. I always kid and say I probably should have gone to rehab, but I never did. You can go to AA meetings. You can get a sponsor. You can work the 12 steps. There are proven, methods out there that were created and built to be able to sustain a sober life. But this place is I created the Sober Bear, Cold Bear podcast as a place to highlight amazing people in the world that are paying it forward around helping others. And that's what today is all about. So I'm going to go ahead and announce Chris Herren and Lori McCarthy. Chris, thank you for being here. Lori, thank you for being here. And I appreciate you guys, everything that you do.
Thank you.
Chris is a former professional basketball point guard. He is a recovery addict, an author. There are a number of organizations that he is directly connected to, including Herren Wellness, Herren Talks, the Herren Project, which he founded, which is a nonprofit that provides education and recovery resources. He's written a memoir called The Basketball Junkie. I believe that was back in 2011. I got kind of my dates screwed up a little bit, Chris. Chris has been sober since August 1st of 2008. Is that correct, Chris?
Correct.
And today with Herren Talks, Chris has, along with Herren Wellness and everything connected to it, has spoken to 2 million students, 49 countries, worldwide, with the goal of making a positive difference of the lives of others. And I was just kind of mentioning you that the first day is an incredible a resource available. It's basically a substance use prevention education film. It basically covers Chris out in the world, talking about everything as it relates to, what Herren Wellness is all about, and I guess your mission. Lori McCarthy, thank you for being here as well. Lori is a 25 plus year veteran in recovery and program leader. You are the executive director of Herren Wellness. Is that right?
Yes.
You work on developing and overseeing recovery services, staff training, community partnerships, evidence-based support for people and families. And you are a proven leader around Herren Wellness. Welcome. Thank you again.
Thank you. Great to be here.
I want to start off by talking a little bit about how you met. We can certainly get into your story, Chris, in terms of, your sobriety, your recovery, and everything else, which you talk about often. You obviously were in the documentary Unguarded, which is on ESPN. That's not what we're going to be covering today. We're going to be covering, the Herren Wellness side of everything. So tell us how you met. Tell us how you, came up with this, and, let's start with the story around that, and we can go from there.
Sure.
It's kind of my favorite story.
I, been sober 17 years. I had the privilege of going to a treatment center in New York and transitioning to a sober, a halfway house in Cape Cod. And the name of the company at the time was Gosnold. And there was a leader there, the CEO, who I admired, I looked up to, I wanted to be like, and his partner at the time was Lori McCarthy. And, when looking back on my 17 years, there were just certain people that I was attracted to, and attracted to who they were and what they did and how they did it. And, in 2018, when I came up with this idea to open up a wellness center, I wanted to do it with nobody but Lori McCarthy. She's been in recovery for 38 years. She's a beast. She's a warrior. She really is. And I've never met anyone in my life who wants recovery for other people more than Lori McCarthy. And that's why we do this. That's why we created this in 2018. And I've done it with her shoulder to shoulder for the last 7.5 years. So I'm blessed. I got in my world, I got a Hall of Famer. It'd be like me getting Larry Bird to play on my team. That's what it was like for me. I've met a lot of people traveling the country and speaking, and a lot of people approached me about doing projects. And I went with this beast, and that's what she is. She's a warrior, and people that have come through our program over the last 7.5 years are so incredibly fortunate in their families that they have Lori McCarthy in their corner.
That's amazing. I mean, I don't know how you can follow that, but I think so. Lori, described to me the first time that you met Chris, and what was that like, and how, like, did you know at the time that you were gonna be on this journey 7 plus years later?
No, it's such a cool, for me, such a cool memory. So Chris was doing some speaking engagements for Gosnold. And one of them was at this big high school down on the Cape, and it was Barnstable High School. And they had this brand new gymnasium there. You could fit 800 people. Chris was going to speak and tell a story, and it was fairly early on. And Ray Tomasi, who was the CEO at the time, just so excited to have the opportunity to talk to parents and families in this subject, which, we're talking in the middle of the opioid epidemic, when families are just suffering in silence and people are suffering in silence, and to have like local Celtic to get up and talk about like this issue. The place was so packed that we had to turn people away. And and Chris was coming in from somewhere else, and he was gonna running a little bit late, and we had to like, fill the time, and no one thought they were like, no one could fill the time with that kind of audience. Like, who are we to fill the time? And I met Chris, and immediately it was just instant authenticity, instant like he wants the exact same thing. It's about recovery for other people. It's about recovery for families. It's about providing an environment that we would want our families to be in. And so over the years, I would see him at some events, and I met Heather, and it was the same feeling. We were at an event in Boston, and the kindest, most gracious, person in the world. And so yeah, when this came up, that person that we worked with at Gosnold had retired, and was no longer in the field. And I really thought that I would not be working in the field. I started doing a lot of prevention work in my town. I wouldn't
Really?
go back to another treatment center or anything like that. Because we did some really special, cool, innovative things during our time on the Cape. And Chris called and said, I'm thinking of doing this. And he said, what do you think? And it was like, I'm all in. I think, I ran home and told my husband, and
I got her out of retirement.
yeah, he got me out of retirement. And yeah, we huddled. We huddled for months. We
Yeah.
found the property. Chris found the property. He, would find these places and no, it's not right and not right. And he found this beautiful piece of land.
Yeah.
And from that point on, we'd huddle in conference rooms and create a curriculum and a program and structure and the vibe that we wanted to get out there. And I think one of the things we're most proud of is we've never come off that mission.
That's
We're
amazing.
kind of boots to the ground.
Yeah, I think and obviously you're continuing to expand and everything else, but it's not often, and I, as you can imagine, as part of building anything like you have with this, a podcast or a business or what have you, it takes a lot of relationship building, a lot of outreach, a lot of conversations, a lot of fundraising, right? What, I think in kind of the world of addiction and especially recovery, like you look at, famous individuals, whether they're celebrity or athletes or what have you. And at least the ones that I've talked to, there's almost kind of like this like stigma because they're out in the world and they don't want, they're always very concerned about their brand and the reputation of their brand potentially being harmed. And I think the cool thing about what you've been doing, Chris, is that you use this as your superpower. You talk about your recovery out in the world, where you don't actually cover kind of the sports side of anything. Like your biggest accomplishment is actually the recovery piece, right? Even I heard a quote somewhere where you like, I don't have trophies. I have my, I have my 15-year coin on the sink, right? And that type of superpower and being able to use the balance of your celebrity and your reach and your authenticity along with building out this incredible organization is like the perfect storm, I would think. Is that a pretty fair statement to say?
Yeah, I would say so. I'm very fortunate, right? For years I questioned my commitment to the game of basketball and whether or not it was worth it. Becoming a professional athlete requires a lot of pain and a lot of suffering. a huge commitment. Uh, so for years, I questioned whether or not it was worth it. And I would do reflection and think like, maybe if I tried this when I was in high school or did that. Um, but the truth is, all that work, all that commitment, all that sacrifice has led me here, and it's given me this platform. My story is is not uncommon, right? I mean, you know, there's plenty of people in the professional space that struggle with addiction. My story is not that is not uncommon. Um, I just was able to get a platform to really talk about it. Uh, you know, when I did the ESPN 30 for 30 14 years ago, you know, there weren't a lot of people laying it out there like that. Um, and I was, to be honest with you, I had no idea where it was going to go. Um, you
Yeah,
know,
that was a big risk, Chris. Yeah.
huge risk, huge risk.
Yeah.
And listen, the reality is, and if we're just, it's still a risk. And the risk is, um, and I've learned over the last 3 years or so, you know, that it's not going anywhere. You know, it's still there. And I have children behind this story. I have family that's part of this story. Um, and I'll tell you, selfishly, in the beginning, it was it was it was more of my story, and I thought it was my story, right? And I didn't take into consideration, you know, the ripple effect that it would have on the people who love me, right?
Mm.
And so we've all sacrificed quite a bit in this process to get where we're at today. And again, I wouldn't change it. It was an incredible experience doing that documentary, and I had no idea how that would be received. And you know, to this day, one of my greatest accomplishments is when people tell me, you know, they'll see me in the airport and they would say, like, I was at a treatment center and I watched Unguarded. Unguarded has kind of become like the Harry Potter of treatment centers, and and and, and I love it. I love the fact that that's where it landed, because that's exactly where I wanted it to land. I wanted it to land in the hands of people who are struggling, who are at a point in their life where they can go left or go right. And if I can be part of that healing process, and I can be an inspiration, um, you know, that's what it's all about.
I think there's a stigma that is still out there, to your point, Chris, that whether it's in, you know, professional sports. My son is a, you know, an up and coming, possibly a professional, baseball player. He wants to be, at least. Um, you know, in the corporate world, I mean, stats that I've seen are as high as, you know, 70-80% of the workplace is directly impacted by addiction, whether it's by the individual themselves or somebody that is close to them, a family member, a loved one, a wife, a husband, a child. And um, I think what I always tend to talk about is just like, how do we get past, how do we kind of work our way past this stigma? How do we actually make this a conversation that's like real and normal and normalized versus like scary? Because I think when you're in the depths of your addiction, and I was there, you're afraid of like, what's going to happen to me? What are people going to think about me? Am I going to lose my job? Is my wife going to leave me? Or, you know, are my friends going to desert me? And that's a really scary thing. And so you have kind of two choices, right? To your point, you can go the left side or the right side. And as it becomes more and more of an open conversation, an open, transparent conversation, I think it'll be easier. And I think you know, the two of you have opened these doors to have these types of conversations and open up these types of opportunities to make it possible for those that need help.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I think, you know, one of our greatest success in this whole process is making people embrace and become proud of living one day at a time, right? Like, living one day at a time is not an easy thing to do.
No, it's
Like,
not.
it's not, that is not an easy process, right?
Mm.
And I say this, and I mean this with all my heart. It's the greatest accomplishment of my life, but it's also not an easy thing to do. And it's something that, in my opinion, deserves celebration. It deserves recognition that if you're battling through life one day at a time, you're winning.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, you are winning. So,
It's a foundation. It's a huge foundation piece of our program
mm,
is how we talk about it and how it's as simple as we call we call them guests, not patients.
Mm.
We lead with respect. We don't use the words alcoholic and addict. Like we're very, we use the word recovery. Recovery is probably said a million times a day here. And also like our team and us, our job is to inspire people that this way of living is beautiful.
mm,
And so the stigma is it's better since the opioid epidemic. I mean, I don't know if Chris had never come out and kind of told his story where we'd still be, because it was such a shameful thing. And it's still so much work too. We do work every day with families and with our guests themselves that they have their own stigma around it. They stigmatize them. Love recovery. We embrace it. We are so proud of it. It's made us the people we are. That's the responsibility of us in working with our guests, whether they're 18 or 80. Like, this is a really beautiful thing, and change is profoundly hard.
mm.
Yeah.
So the minute people wake up, there's no stigma here.
Nor
think-
nor should there be. Go ahead, Chris.
No, I think most people come in with a little,
Yeah.
with a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. My goal is here at Herren Wellness. Our goal is to watch them come in and then watch them exit extremely full of joy and pride that they're in recovery. We watched it today, for instance. We took a picture here. We took a recovery month picture here today. And there's a few guests that didn't want to be in the picture. And they're carrying that. They're carrying that shame, that stigma. They don't want to be public. They don't want to be out there. And
Now, are these individuals earlier in the program, Chris, or
Yes,
did they recently
yes.
join? Well,
Yes.
I think that's a pretty normal thing, right? I mean, when I first got sober, I didn't want to talk to a lot of folks about it. I was kind of sitting in between my two ears.
Yeah.
All the
But I
time.
say this though, what I was saying is 90% of the people who come through this program want to step out and take the picture. Where 10, 15 years ago, it would probably be the opposite. And I think
Yeah.
that's the work we've done here. And that's what we try to do here, is to allow people to not be full of shame and remorse and regret and guilt about their past, and really, really love and embrace what's coming.
And families too that are so afraid to talk about it. I remember I was on a family support group call, and I think one of the dads or something said, if I get asked, what should I say? Like, she's an addict. And, and I said, no, say like she's in recovery and you're
Yeah.
beaming because, she's happier.
Mm.
And when I grew up, my father got sober when I was 15. And
No
I grew up,
kidding.
like, luckily, there was no stigma. Like, I didn't grow up with stigma around like going to AA meetings and sobriety. And he ran a restaurant in Boston. And so when I got sober, I told everybody in the world. I was 26. I told everybody. I had no idea that I really didn't know that families felt shame. And when I realized it, it was when I was working in the field and one of the staff was celebrating like their 3rd year. And I walked out of the office with them and I said, "Oh my God, congratulations. Like, are you going to celebrate with your family tonight?" And he said, "Oh, they don't celebrate this.
Mm.
Like, they
No
don't want to."
way.
And at that moment, I was probably 15 years sober at the time. I told everyone in my neighborhood that I've thought, wow, like culturally, it's the stigma. And I was so fortunate. my family, we grew up without that. And, I'm grateful for that.
I mean, I think it's amazing that you have been in recovery for so long, but also you were introduced to recovery at such a young age in 15, Lori, which is also amazing. I think there's such a negative kind of perception around that word addict, right? And it's like when I go to AA meetings, I say, hey, I'm an alcoholic and I'm an addict. And that's inside the rooms of everybody that are also addicts and alcoholics, right? But when you're out in the world, it's like, I think it's important to kind of take a positive spin on everything. I'm in recovery. I'm working on myself. I'm doing things for others that I couldn't do before. I'm showing up as the best version of myself for my family, like those positive things. And this is not, as much as this is kind of an individual type of journey, disease, etc., right, with addiction. It is really a group effort because it involves everybody. It involves the family, the parents, the children, the extended family. It involves everybody. And that's why, it sounds to me, I do have some specific questions on like how many folks have gone through the program, things like that. But the fact that you focus just as much on the guests that are actually there and getting them in the right direction, the right journey. And also, it sounds like you also focus equally on the journey of those around them so that they are, it's kind of like, Al-Anon and, in Herren Wellness, in Herren Wellness, right? Like that's what it sounds to me.
I was a little over 17 years ago, I was driven up to Rhinebeck, New York to enter my treatment center. And I'll never forget it. Heather and I had overdosed 5 days earlier. And it was a hard ride. Heather was pregnant. I hadn't seen my kids. And I was going away for a substantial amount of time. And I've never really done anything like that. So it was kind of my first experience. And we pulled up in front of the center and we were crying, we were emotional. And I got out of the car and she got out of the car and I gave her a big hug. And she said, let me carry this bag. I'll carry that bag. And they met her at the front door and said, you're not allowed in here.
My goodness.
You need to leave the property immediately to respect the anonymity and privacy of other people here. Thank you, Mrs. Herren, for the ride, but it's time to go home.
Mhm.
And, fast forward 10 years later, I would never do that to families. Like I want the families walking through the door with them. I want them to experience day one of recovery. I want to sit in the office and see them. Because for us, for me, it's our greatest accomplishment, right? Not just to see someone celebrate sobriety, but to see the family celebrate it with them. And so
Amazing.
to do that here, where I can honestly look anybody in the eye and say, we put as much effort into families as anyone. And I'm incredibly proud of that because,
You have to.
yeah, you do. And something, I got sober quicker than my family did, right? I recovered quicker. I had the space to, I had the room to, I had the community to go to. They didn't. So,
Yeah.
so my track was a little further along than theirs. And it took some time for them to catch up. And I want to fast track that. I want families to be right behind them. I want families to embrace it, get educated about it, have their own part in it. And that's what we've done here over the last 7 years.
I think when you come into any particular recovery program, you're right, Chris. It's like they're not used to, they don't know who like the real Chris is. They're having to like relearn, what the kind of the sober in a program Chris is, and the Chris without those character defects that are constantly causing you, that the Matt without the anger issues, the Matt without the, all of the resentments that are constantly causing me to be an asshole, right? Um, so they're having, like, my wife, God bless her, she and I've been together for 26 years, right? We've been married for 22. And she's had to be a part of the active process for all 26 years. Now there's been ebbs and flows and waves and everything else. But now she's finally seeing kind of like who the real Matt is that she always tells me she knew she would be with, right? She always knew it was in there. And
Yeah.
so you're right. Like, there is a catch up process to this. We go through the recovery because we're working on ourselves. We're going to meetings, we're going into rehab or into a wellness facility or what have you. But the rest of our family is going like, okay, well, what's my part in this?
Sure.
Mhm.
And if you really look at it, most treatment centers, they don't really address that, right? So you're sending home someone 30 days, 60 days, 90 days later to a family that hasn't really participated. And
Mm.
I mean, walking into back into a family, an entrance back into your home with a family that's has not been taken care of.
So do
And
you
work.
do you do you, do you both think that a lot of the reasons for why folks, once they go through a program, why they relapse or why they go back into their old ways is because once they get back into their old environments with their friends or their loved ones or what have you, those individuals are still kind of living the old scenario? Do you think that's a big contributing factor? Because I've talked about it before. I've never actually, thought about it in the way that you just described.
I think it's one of the stressors, it's like if we're preparing someone to leave, like we're kind of looking at every area of their life that there's going to be some some stress, and it's work and family are the biggest things. And that's why we try to prepare them to say your family, like they're going to hold their breath for a year. Like there's no way that if you say something different or you're late coming home, I think preparing people
If you don't answer
for,
the phone.
yeah, like in having them have this respect and empathy for, oh, like a lot of people don't even think of that. Like it's never been put to them in that way. And Chris and Heather, they they've talked like that since day one. And so it comes from lived experience and education, and it trickles down into our team so that our job is not only the inspiring people for recovery, it's preparing them
The
for life on
preparedness.
terms. And that's different for everybody depending on so many factors.
Mm.
And so individually, these are going to be your sort of, you got to, you know, get some armor around these things. And that's why we created the alumni program
Yes.
and grown to what it is, because everybody needs a net, and it's AA and it's NA and it's smart recovery and refuge, and your connection outside of here is equally important.
Mm.
But the net and the connection that people have to each other here and in our alumni, like it's a huge net for people.
Yeah.
It really is. Like it's like an automatic support group.
100%. So let's kind of dive into that and peel away a couple layers of that onion. So when you come into the program as a guest, how long's the program? Obviously there's kind of the day one, that it sounds like that's a really big theme, or like this is day one of kind of the next thing, right? This is kind of the left road versus the right road. How are you doing preparedness all the way through with both the guest and the family? Are you waiting towards kind of the last kind of third to kind of start to bring the family in to say, like, okay, here are the things that you need to be aware of once they're out in the world? Like, kind of talk me through a little bit about kind of what a normal or a standard kind of time for a guest that comes to Herren?
Well, I'll say this. One of the big issues I had with um treatment was the time that it was connected to it, right?
Yeah.
Where 5 days in detox, 28 days in rehab, then transition 90 days in a sober house or a halfway house. So there was just all these days, and there was so much focus on that. And, everybody's different,
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I tell everybody who walk in this program and their families, the longer you stay, the better chance you have. I mean, we got 7.5 years of outcomes and data that support that. So the longer you stay, the better off you are. And the likelihood that you'll celebrate a year sober increases drastically once we hit that 60, 68-day mark. We're very proud of that. Like sometimes we have a hard time telling people they have to go, like they've
Hmm.
been, they've been here too long. But we have what most people would call a halfway house right down the street from here. And it's been open for 5 years, and 70% of the people who transition onto that property have celebrated 1 year sober in 5 years. 70%.
So
So
how large is that facility, that halfway
mm,
house, Chris?
no, there's 12 people in that house. There's 12 guests in that house. It's their house, right? And we have another house close by where 5 guests live in that house as well. Um, but 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 you can't live in that house unless you've gone through this program. We don't take anybody from another program into that sober living setting.
And are
Uh,
you bringing those guests in that halfway house back into the
Always,
onto the grounds and
always,
connected, even though they're alumni, but they're still
always,
very active. Got it.
always.
I
They
mean,
Yeah.
it's
work
not,
out with a trainer, they have access to the dining room. They're so helpful. So our guests come in like 28-day slash program. That's it. You're in with people that are in that they have no more than 28. And so our guests on day 1 can be in with somebody that got here yesterday, somebody that's been here a month, somebody that's been here
8 months.
3.2 months,
Yeah.
somebody that's been
uh,
here. So it's not just the staff that is guiding and coaching. They are like it's real witness to, gosh, the change that occurred for me was, was amazing.
Mm,
So because we have that, it's open. And again, not that we're talking about addiction. So there are a lot of controls in that.
yeah,
There's a lot of oversight, and there's a lot of meetings, and there's a lot of, how are they doing in sober living? Are they working? Are they in school? How many meetings? That it requires a great deal of attention. Obviously, it wouldn't work unless somebody is paying very close attention.
sure.
Yeah.
So is it fair to say, Chris, that a big reason that Herren Wellness is what it is today is that time, over the time and all the different experiences you had with the different rehabs that you went to, you basically took all that experience that you didn't like in those different centers, the good, the bad, the indifferent, and you took all the good components of that and said, this is kind of where I want to take Herren Wellness. Is that a good way to describe kind of what you've built?
I mean, that's exactly what it is,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that was my goal 7 years ago. I wanted to create something that people saw on a website and walked on to the campus and got exactly what they were promised,
Mhm.
right?
Sure.
As a professional athlete, I was often and as a speaker, I was often asked to tour treatment centers in the beginning, speak at treatment centers, and I just didn't feel the genuineness of those centers. I didn't feel, and there's plenty of them that are wonderful,
Mhm.
but there were many centers that I felt like they were overselling.
Almost programmatic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they were overselling it. And
Hmm.
uh, when you look on our website and there's yoga and there's meditation and there's breath work and there's acupuncture and massage therapy and personal training and nutrition, like that's all here, right? So I wanted to bring that because to simplify it, um, sobriety made my kids smile again, right? Like that's what sobriety did. Like I knew I had something really special when I looked in their eyes and saw them smile. And and I wanted so badly to make families' eyes smile. I wanted to give people what was given to me. And so I will put I'm all in. I'm all in. And sometimes to a fault, right? Like most people in my position wouldn't be all in. I I shouldn't say most people, but I celebrated 17 years the other day and I looked out into a room.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I looked out into a room of 100 people, former guest here, and um I knew every single one of them.
It's
I
amazing.
knew I knew every single one of them. I knew their story, and that's the only reason I did this. Once I start getting to know the guests that trust us in this process, I'll walk away.
I mean, it's very clear to me that the two of you obviously have been locked at the hip forever. Number
Mhm.
one. Number two, it's very clear to me that nothing happens without the two of you and a few others, obviously, um, are deeply connected on this. I mean, obviously, Chris, you're out, you're kind of the face of this. You're out speaking, you're doing all these, I mean, I can't even imagine looking at your your schedule. It's got to be nuts. But I mean, the fact that you stay close and you're clearly hands-on, and the two of you, every decision that's made it continues to be in the spirit of kind of what you originally set up, and it sounds like it continues to flourish. Um, God, what a crazy gift. Chris, my kids, I love seeing them smile now. I love them being able to talk to me about kind of what they can do. It's like there's such a power to that in terms of what you just said. I'm really grateful that you said that. As we kind of we've got about 5 or 7
Mhm.
more minutes before we wrap, and I want to be very respectful of your time. Um, tell me a little bit about kind of where the organization's going to be going in the next couple of years. You got to be thinking about, as much as it is important to focus on just for today, and what are the plans to open up more facilities, fundraising, getting more folks involved. Like, what does that look like? And, what are your plans in
Yeah.
whatever capacity?
I mean, every time I think about it, I get lost, you know? And I'm just being honest with you. There's a lot of work to be done here. Like, I'm sitting in this little room right now and there's 18 people who families trust us. And that's the work that needs to be done is to take care of the current guests that are on this campus right now. I really don't think that way. Whether it's right or wrong, I don't have that in me. My I'm living in today, and there's no bullshit, right? Like I can
Yeah.
I'm just being honest with you, right? Like I could take this and surround myself with people and get investments and grow this thing. But like there's too much in front of me right now. Like
I
there's
would, I would, I would think, Chris, that it may lose a lot of its authenticity if you
wood.
grow too much, right? Like the beauty of this is what you just described. It's, you've got this core group of guests that are there. Like, let's focus on them. Like, we don't know kind of what's going to happen down the road,
It's an
right?
incredible listen, it's an incredible
Yes.
responsibility.
Yes.
It's an
Huge.
incredible we have moms and dads here, right?
Mhm.
We have kids at home going to school, sitting in the classroom thinking, I hope my mom's doing okay.
Mhm.
I hope
Yeah.
my I hope my dad's working really hard at getting sober. Um, you know, it's an incredible responsibility. And I've never, ever lost sight of that. Like when I see somebody dragging a suitcase or carrying luggage to come into this place with their family behind them, I understand the assignment, right? I understand it. And I understand what it means to all involved. And, um, I love this.
Mm.
We did, just to answer your question a little bit, we had a place in Virginia.
Okay.
Um, and we were open for about a year and a half, I'd say.
During COVID, yeah.
During COVID, we opened.
Yeah.
But there was something inside of me, I would have people reach out to me and say, my brother or my son went to Herren Wellness in Virginia, and I'm sorry he didn't get a chance to see you there,
Mm.
and
Mm.
that's too much for me.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to walk into a place with my name on it, I want to be part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got rid of, we closed that. We closed it and focused all our energy on this location.
That's so that must be really hard, and frankly what am I thinking here? It must be difficult for you because you want to be there for everybody. I mean, they're there, by the way, like obviously they're there to get well, right? They're there to be there for their families and stuff, but the magic of what Herren Wellness is about the overall experience of getting well and the overall experience. I mean, clearly you have the reputation of bringing everybody into the community and really giving them a big group hug. The family, I mean, that comes in. It's not just that dad or that mom that's in there getting better. It's those children that are sitting in school. It's everybody that's around that. And it must be a really hard thing because you want to be able to be there for everybody. So it's like, how do you manage your time? It's like you got to give yourself some grace, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Mm.
I have plenty of grace. I think this is the life that I've chosen. This is the life that I live. And it's served me incredibly well, and my children, and my family. It's I wouldn't want it any other way. I really wouldn't. Where in life do you get an opportunity to be in somebody's story, right? Like, how often does that happen to people in this world? How often does someone say, 15 years from now, like that place changed my life? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's like priceless. It's priceless that people who were here 7 years ago drive 3-4 hours to be here on a Wednesday night to just be on the property that was so pivotal in their life changing.
Mm.
Um, this is more than a treatment center. It really is. We've created this beautiful lifestyle in a
Yeah.
sense. It's a lifestyle, and it's something that people are unbelievably connected to, proud of, and
Mm.
want to make it better. And we're all in it together.
How large is your alumni?
Oh gosh,
Oh my.
it's huge. But I'll say this, right? We're a small place, right? Like, we could have opened up this big old campus and had 140 beds. There's 24 beds here. There's 24.
I don't think that matters per se. Like like Serenity Lane here in Oregon, and Pete Kern, I mentioned to you, he's the CEO of Serenity Lane. He's a good friend. They've had 70,000 people go through the program, a lot of returns and everything else. It's not about the strength in numbers. It's about like what you've done, who you've impacted, and the lives that you've changed, I think.
Right. But this was like passion for me, right? Like, and there's nothing wrong with having 140 beds. People deserve that access to go to those places.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted something small enough to be part of it, and to be part of everybody's story.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
that's, if we had 140 beds, I wouldn't be able to be,
Right.
I wouldn't be in it.
Not enough touch points or conversations and pulling somebody aside, talking to a family member. Um, I think the smallness of it is people feel very cared for.
Mm.
And the
Yeah.
attention is there's so much attention, and you can control that in a smaller environment for us.
Yeah.
I mean, that's again, this is there's it's just the way we think, which right or wrong,
Mhm.
uh feels and makes the most sense
Mm.
for what we want to, how we want to participate in our guests, care while they're here.
I believe in it. I think it's something that we've created that is individualized. It's small enough to pivot,
Mm.
it's small enough to pivot. It's small enough to support, big families, multiple people. Um, you know, we we don't follow, we adjust to the people who are in our
Yeah.
program.
Yeah.
And again, if you show up here one day, you're never going to know who works here. We all dress, there's no lanyards. Firefighters come for the fire alarm. They're like, who the hell works here? Um,
That's great.
and, and that's intentional because, you know, I, I don't want, we're all in this together,
Yeah.
right? And again, there's no patience. We're guests, they're guests here. And, this really has become their place, and that's when I knew I did something, and we were able to accomplish something incredibly special is when people started talking about this like it was their home.
Usually I conclude the podcast by saying, take a few minutes and let's, tell us, what you're up to and promote what you're doing. I think everybody is well aware of that will be watching this about what Herren Wellness Herren Wellness is and continues to be, and just the beauty of it, just the absolute beauty of it. I'm going to ask you a little bit of a curveball question, and let's see how the two of you respond. Lori, I'm going to start with you. Um, what do you want to be remembered for?
That's a great question. I think how my recovery. I think recovery, being a sober mom, um, living this life has like it's so fulfilling. Even the bad times, like you feel everything. I think just being a hand in recovery to somebody else,
Mm.
honestly, and being a present parent to my family and my siblings, present family member. I think that's it.
And no, I mean the humility, Lori, since we first met on, in that conversation, you've always been incredibly humble with me, and I appreciate that about you, and that's very clear. Um, Chris, as it relates to you, what would you, or as it relates to Herren Wellness, as it relates to your legacy, your children, what would you want to be remembered for?
I think Laurie said it right. Just being of service, right? I think being of service has kept me sober. I never want to lose that. I never want to lose sight of that. Helping others and being part of, um, that's something that,
Mm.
over the last 15 years, I've really prided myself on, that I want to be part of somebody's story. Um, my greatest accomplishment in my life is sobriety. It's 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 the hardest thing I've ever done and the most beautiful thing I've ever done. Um, you know, Recovery is not perfect, as Lori introduced to me a while ago. It's not a straight line, right?
No, it's not.
It's not always straight. And um, you know, I've had some tough times in sobriety, and I've battled through it. And you know, we talk about 17 years, but the longer I'm in this, to me, it's about today.
Mm.
It's about today. It's about what we're doing today. And I love what I do. I'll continue to do it. Uh, it's not hard. It's not hard for me. It's exhausting.
It's not hard.
It's
It's
not
not
hard.
hard.
It's exhausting. It's
It's not
exhausting.
hard. It's not hard now, but over the years, you've put in all that work. Laura, you've put in all that work to become like who you are now. And so, sure, it's not hard now. It's not hard
It's
for me
pretty
now,
hard.
but
Oh
I
no,
can
yeah,
have
yeah,
days that are
of course,
horrendous, very, very hard. I
sure,
heard an old timer say once, it's like you go for the year, the 5 year, the 10, the 15, and
yeah.
you get to a certain point, it's just today.
yeah.
That's exactly right,
And life
because we don't know what's
life
going to happen
throws
tomorrow.
no, and that's you know, you can have 30 years of sobriety and get the shit kicked out of you.
Yep.
And you need to know that it's okay.
Mm.
You know, people need to talk about that. So
Well, shit, bad things happen every single day, and we all know that they're coming, and we just don't know when. And it's like, how do you deal with it, right? So
together.
yeah, together. I mean, this is not this is a lonely disease that you don't have to do alone,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you know, it's something that I talk about. Well, listen, guys, I love you both. It's
Yeah.
been an absolute pleasure. You know, it's funny, like you go into these conversations and you're like, how's it going to go? Is it going to be, you know, uncomfortable, or is there going to be like little spurts of, you know, of empty silence? Like it's always refreshing to me when we can just have a normal human conversation about this thing. I want to just let you both know that I am truly grateful for you. I hope that we can stay in contact. Obviously, thank you for spending the time to be here today. And just to kind of wrap things up with everybody, you know, thank you for joining in and being a part of this. Thank you for listening. There's a lot of different ways to continue to keep tabs on Herren Wellness. Whether it's on Instagram, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's their website. Obviously, you know, the Sober Cold Bear, you know, this is not a place that you go to get sober. This is a resource. But the first thing, if you are thinking about getting sober, amazing. The first thing that you need to do is you need to ask for help. You need to say, you know, I'm not okay, and it's okay not to be okay. But there are resources and people out there that love you, that want to help you, like Chris and Lori, that are here to help you kind of take the left road versus the right road. And that's the beauty of this program. It is a pay it forward, relentless, no bullshit, you know, world of recovery. And that's the beauty of this. So if you do need help, please reach out to me, reach out to Chris, reach out to Lori, Herren Wellness. But thank you everybody for stopping by. And Chris and Lori, it was an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed your time with me.
Yeah,
We
I
did.
Thank
Very
you so
much. Thank you so much.
All right, everybody, we're going to say goodbye. I'm going to hit the stop button and take care of y'all and talk soon.
Sometimes I feel like I want to fly without no wings. I elevate inside my mind, and sometimes I look inside